Hi, I'm Josh Carving, and welcome to another Death Battle prediction video. But first, Crash versus Spyro. This one pretty much went about as expected in terms of the analysis and how it turned out. With Spyro winning, I pretty much knew that was going to happen. He trounces Crash, though they did give Crash a lot more advantage than he should have had. They lowballed both characters a little bit, and Spyro especially. And the claim that they made that, like, Spyro couldn't usually kill Crash was kind of weird because he does have that planet-level TK ability. So, it's kind of a weird claim because he has done it. There's no reason he couldn't do it again. The animation was good. It was a bit more slow-paced and... It wasn't Torian's best, and it's one that I'm kind of surprised was, like, I think 3 or 4 episodes in a row of 2D fights leading up to this one, or the next one, potentially. But, I don't know. I kind of expected a touch more. It was still entertaining, though. But honestly, I don't really have too much to say for this one, because I'm not hugely invested in either series. So I guess we'll move right on to Sora versus Pit. Now, this is a super classic request that people have been making for years and years since the start of the show. Why exactly? Warriors of Light fighting armies of darkness. Both have brown hair and are little boys, I guess. Kind of beyond me. But people kind of like this one because they're both like magic and not much else. So one of the themes that I've been seeing a lot with this season is that they're extremely popular fights, but as I said before, extremely popular fights do not necessarily make for good death battles because they're thematic, but they're not close. And that theme continues here today. So first I'll go a little bit into Pit stuff, just to kind of paint the picture of where this is going. Pit's speed is somewhat contended. He can go, I think it was like twice the speed of lightning with the Great Sacred Treasures on his own. But largely, a lot of his more long-distance movement is done by Palutena herself. He reacts at incredibly high speeds, but he does not move them. And that leads to the thing where he can move decently quickly, but even if he is reacting fairly quickly, he might not be able to necessarily do anything about it. Now, for his durability and destructive capacity, pretty much most of his stuff comes down to Hades. He scales pretty well to Hades because he beat him. Kind of. He had a little bit of help. But he still did damage Hades and can take hits from Hades, who I think he said that he destroyed a country or something like that. But that's an ambiguous claim as well. In fact, there's a lot of ambiguity that gets taken as fact for a lot of the Kid Icarus versus community stuff. So there's that, and then there's another feat where Pyron blasted a thing to away from a planet, and Palutena says, oh, with any luck, he should blast them to the other side of the galaxy. So that sounds like it would be a good feat, but there's a lot of problems with that. One, she's being hopeful. He might get a planet over in a year, for all she knows. 2, he's not even steering. He's just blasting it in a direction. So even if it was extremely fast, which it was a slow startup, so if it works itself up to faster than light speed, it's not like he's even steering it. So the reaction feat wouldn't scale to anybody. So it's not a feat, and even if it was a feat, no one gets it. Which leaves him kind of lacking in some stats. I think the best direct feat was, island level for Pit. So, without taking those statements and silliness, He's about an island level, like, massively hypersonic character, which is good. Then we have Sora. So, one of the big things with Sora that is going to play hell with this next fight is how they interpret him in conjunction to other characters. Namely, does he scale to Sephiroth because he beat him? No, it's a different universe as Sephiroth. That's kind of how it's generally considered to have worked. Does he scale to, say, Hercules because it's owned by Disney and, like, that interpretation? Not quite. The way that you generally take these debates is that the character scales to whatever they show in this iteration. So then you have to look at who has feats that Sora scales to. The best example of this is that Sora has fought something called the Lingering Will. It is the empty armor of Terra, and it kind of has a soul and stuff like that. So it's fighting Sora. Now, it uses its Keyblade armor and this, like, Star Wars speeder thing that it used to fly between planets. That's pretty fast already, considering, you know, they didn't die of old age between travels. The more impressive thing is that Terra's speeder thing reacted, or I think it was Ventus's speeder thing, but both of them should be equivalent anyway, reacted to a, what was it called? A spaceship from Lilo and Stitch while it was in hyperdrive. Now, I know I just said you have to take things based on their actual feats in Kingdom Hearts, and it was actually recreating the start of Lilo and Stitch. So you have the feat that the Lilo and Stitch ships have, which is going from one galaxy, at least. People argue solar system, but that doesn't make any sense. So from one galaxy over to the Milky Way galaxy. All in, I think it was like a couple days at most, which is so massively faster than light. And Ventus didn't get splattered by this thing, and he evaded it. So that's a pretty solid feat that Sora scales to because he fought the Lingering Will. Even without that, there was a feat where Sora pointed his Keyblade at the moon, fired a beam, and he actually managed to, like, hit it in very quick time. I think the feat ended up being, like, hell, it was relativistic, I think it was, but might have been FTL. Either way, they have actually already gone into that feat in the previews. They specifically mentioned the time where he shot a beam at the moon. So that's the kind of thing that they're going to go into at the end of the episode when they're talking about why Sora won, because he does. Now let's also get into strength. Sora on his own has some decent feats, like when he was cutting skyscrapers in the end of Kingdom Hearts 2. Oh, yeah, end of Kingdom Hearts 2, that's another speed feat, is when he was blocking a bunch of the beam attacks from Xemnas with Riku while the two of them were just spinning there for like a minute and a half blocking all these lasers. It's ambiguous whether or not they're actually laser light speed. If they are, though, God, that's such an MFTL feat. But there's actually further scaling you can do for Sora that makes him planet level. One of the big things is that Kingdom Hearts, for what little tiny bits we actually know about the fucking thing, it is stated to have, and shown, as of the end of, I think, Kingdom Hearts 1, is shown to restore numerous worlds, and I think it can destroy them too. Now this is notable because they're worlds, you might be thinking, so are they planets or are they just isolated areas? They are actually planets, as shown in the, I think it was the Xemnas or Xehanort scientific entries you can find throughout the games. They actually state the worlds are their own planets, which leads to the really weird scenario where, like, Agrabah and Mount Olympus are different planets, even though Hercules and Aladdin have crossed over, which would imply they're in the same world. But like I said, Kingdom Hearts is its own continuity, so it treats things differently. Like, you wouldn't be able to walk from Mount Olympus in Greece to Agrabah. That wouldn't be possible because you have to go between planets. So, with this planet restoring and destroying, you have your case for an entity that is planet level. But how would that scale to anyone? Well, at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2, Xemnas took in Kingdom Hearts and fought Riku and Sora, and they managed to defeat him. So he empowered himself with the power of Kingdom Hearts and lost. So that's more or less the argument for planet level Sora, which I can definitely see. So with that said, I don't even really think I need to get into a lot of the abilities, but it might be good to kind of poke into them just so that we kind of have something to talk about with that regard. Pit has a few capabilities. He has lots of weapons, but one of his better abilities that he has is like this instant kill thing, which I think only has a chance of instant killing. He also has, I think, the slip shot where he can fire through walls into people. Other than that, though, a lot of his more... Oh, he has petrification. And I think that's most of the stuff that's more or less relevant. Sora has a time stop. He has, I think, Stopka. He has numerous stuns. He can heal himself a lot. He has so many heal options. Several drive forms that he might be able to get into a few of them. And one of the big things is against Pit, that petrification and the instant kill might play into things a little bit if he could actually hit Sora. But the petrification might not be as bad, considering Sora has been turned into things before. So petrification is a form of transmutation where you are turned to stone. But Sora has been turned into other things before and been able to get out of it. He was able to get out of being turned into cards and dice with the fight against Luxord? Either Luxord or Luxeus, I think. I think Luxord. The card guy. But when he was fighting him, he was turned into cards and he fought his way back to being human. So there's numerous things that Sora has that can counter, and even if Pit did have a speed advantage, Sora has a time stop and can easily one-shot him. So I think that makes this a really obvious fight, in my opinion. But one of the things with it is that it's going to be animated by the person who did, I think, Zack and the person who did the Sora versus Link 1 minute melee, which is honestly in my top 3 for any of the 1 minute melees. That one's beautiful. So we can only hope that we get something even nearly as good as that. Honestly, other than that, I don't have really too much to say. So, yeah, I will see you guys after the next one.